Welcome to day 4 of Discipleship School, and today we'll be looking at Matthew chapter 4, Luke chapter 4, and John chapter 2. I'll begin with John chapter 2, and John chapter 2, we saw Jesus turning water into wine. We saw Jesus clearing the temple. This was the first time the clearing of the temple was recorded. There was another cleansing of the temple that occurred towards the end of his ministry. But here we see the first time Jesus cleansed the temple, and then we also see Jesus, the visit of Nicodemus to Jesus at night. So I'll just say something very quickly on this. Let's look at verse 5. John chapter 2, verse 5. So we all know the story of Jesus turning water into wine. If you don't know, Jesus went for a wedding, and that's very instructive. Jesus went for a wedding. Yes, he went for a wedding. So celebrations are not ruled out as children of God. So Jesus went for a wedding, and when he got to the wedding, they had a problem. The problem was the wine supply ran out, and the mother came to meet Jesus. That's Mary came to meet Jesus and told him that they have no more wine. But Jesus said in verse 4, says, "Dear woman, that's not our problem. My time has not yet come." But look at verse 5. Mary told the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Do whatever he tells you. So Mary understood that Jesus has compassion. Jesus would not want to be in a place and the wine would run out, and he knows he can do something, because the wine running out in the wedding was as embarrassing as it could get. So she came to meet him, and she called out for help. The only thing Jesus has compassion to anyone that calls out for help, and the only thing that can stop the help or stop us from receiving help from God is when we fail to do whatever he has told us to do. That's why Mary made sure she told the servants, "Do whatsoever he tells you to do." Now, some of the things that we might be told to do might not make sense to the natural man. And this is where faith is very important. Because look at what Jesus told them. Jesus told them, see, there were some water jars. He says, "Fill the water jars with water." So they filled the jars with water, and then he said, "Take a cup from it and go and give to the master of ceremony." Go and give the master of ceremony. Take a cup and take it to the master of ceremony. So Jesus told them something to do. The servants know that this is water. Jesus did not tell them that this will change to wine. Just obey instruction. So following God's instruction is the key to activate his wonders in our lives. The key to activating the wonders of God in our life is following instructions. So that's one of the things that we can learn. And then let's look at what happened in verse 10. In verse 10, after they've given the master of ceremony the wine, the water that has now turned into wine, he called the bridegroom over and said, "A host always serves the best wine first. Then when everyone has had a lot to drink, he brings out the less expensive wine. But you have kept the best until now." What's he trying to say? Jesus makes the best wine. Jesus makes the best. Not just wine, but life with Jesus is better. Life with him is better than life on our own. Life with him is better than life on our own. Many times we find it difficult to surrender our lives to him. Maybe we think that he just wants to use us and dump us. No, but life with him is always better, always better. And the truth of the matter is, you don't need to wait until every other thing runs out before you turn to Jesus. You don't need to wait. You don't need to save the best for the last. You can come to Jesus now, and if you're watching me right now and you haven't yet come to Jesus, you can come to him right now. You can submit to his will and be ready to obey. Because life with Jesus is always better than any other thing you can get out there. So Jesus turned water into wine, and he turned a situation that was embarrassing, that was potentially embarrassing. he saved the bridegroom from embarrassment. Why? Because they called out to him for help. Is there any situation you are struggling with? Can you call on to Jesus for help? Can you call on to Jesus for help? That's what Mary did. Mary called out to him. Even when he said his time had not yet come, Mary knew that obedience is the key to activating the wonders of God in our life. So let's go on. In the later part, we see Jesus clearing the temple, and he said something in verse 16. He said, then going over to the people who sold doves, he told them, get these things out of here. Stop turning my father's house into a marketplace. Stop turning my father's house into a... So God's place is a house of worship. God's place is a house of worship, and it's not a place for selfish propaganda. That's what Jesus was trying to say, that this is not a place where you come to make profit. And then this is also instructive in our time today, because so many people see the house of God as something more than just worship. Many times we go to the house of God because of business advantage or just to make some personal profit. But he said, do not turn the house of God into a marketplace. Do not turn the house of God. This house should be a house of worship. This house should be a house of worship. And that's one of the things we must note. The house of God must not be turned into a marketplace. Are we saying you cannot get business connection in the house of God? No, but when we go to the house of God, we must go with a motive that we want to worship the Lord. We must go with the motive that we want to go and have fellowship with God. So that's one of the things that we must know. Jesus cleared the temple. Jesus did not do it. He did it. He did it with authority, because he has authority. He had the authority. Then the last thing we see in that John chapter 2, we see verse 24. But Jesus, verse 23 says, because of the miraculous signs Jesus did in Jerusalem at the Passover celebration, many began to trust in him. But Jesus didn't trust them because he knew human nature. No one needed to tell him what mankind is really like. Jesus did not trust them because he knew. He knew how superficial man can be in our following him. Are you following Jesus just because of what you can get? He said he knows. He knows. Let's not try to deceive him. He knows. Don't follow him just because of what you can get. Follow him because he's worth following. Follow him because you have made up your mind to follow Jesus. Jesus knew the people that were just following him because of what they could get. He said he did not trust them. Jesus did not trust them. If Jesus would trust you, if Jesus would trust me, then we must be following him more than what we can get. If we want to earn the trust of Jesus, then it will not just be by what we say alone. He says, these people honor me with their lips, but their heart is far away from me. He knows the human nature. Human nature is deceitful in nature. But if we can surrender our hearts to him, then he can trust us. You want Jesus to trust you? Surrender to him. Follow him at every step of the way. Just like Abraham, follow him even when it doesn't make sense. Even when it looks like you are wasting your life, follow Jesus because he is worth following. I believe this blessed you. So the next video will be on Luke chapter 4 and Matthew chapter 4. God bless you.